Hello, welcome back to BitWise. Your easy learning in the crypto galaxy. I believe you have heard a lot in the news regarding the S.E.C. sue on Ripple, all kinds of FUD, fear, uncertainty and doubt over the lawsuit development for almost 1.5 years now. In this episode, we are not discussing the latest development or news on which side is having the upper hand at the moment, as this keeps changing. There is no point in that. We are more interested in learning why S.E.C. berry-picked Ripple rather than other cryptocurrencies. Sounds interesting? Remember to support us by subscribe, like and share, as sharing is caring. Thank you. On December 2020, the S.E.C. filed a lawsuit against Ripple Labs, claiming that Ripple's cryptocurrency, XRP, meets the legal definition as a financial security and therefore cannot be traded in the public markets without going through an arduous registration process. The S.E.C.'s initial filing in the lawsuit makes the case that XRP qualifies as a security under the framework set out by the United States Supreme Court in its 1946 decision, which has come to be known as the Howey test. Next, I will give a quick explainer on what the Howey test. The Howey case in a nutshell. In the 1940s, a businessman named William Howey wanted to invest in a large tract of citrus groves in Florida. Howey lacked the funds to fully develop and maintain the land,
so he came up with a three-part plan to raise funds for his citrus grove venture. First,
he divided the land in half to keep one half for himself and parcel out the other half to sell to investors. Next, he created an operating company called Howie in the Hills that would manage the citrus grove parcels on behalf of investors who bought the land he was selling. Finally, he marketed package deals to his investors where they could purchase a certain parcel of land at a uniform price per acre, and then lease that land back to Howie in the Hills, which would harvest and sell the citrus fruit on the investor's behalf. Based on this arrangement, the S.E.C. sued Howie, claiming that his sales of citrus grove real estate constituted an unregistered offering of securities, because those transactions were functionally the same as selling stock in his citrus grove operating company. In 1946, the Supreme Court sided with the S.E.C., ruling that the real estate contracts were, in fact, securities, and setting out a four-part test for whether any given financial transaction constitutes an investment contract. According to the Supreme Court, a given financial transaction constitutes a sale of securities if, 1, it is an investment of money. In Howey's case, the real estate contracts were an investment of money because Howey's investors paid money in exchange for ownership rights over the land parcels. 2. The investment of money is done in the expectation of profits. In the Howey case, the Supreme Court held that the investors bought the land from Howie in the expectation of profits based on the fact that Howie promised significant profits to investors as part of his sales pitch, and because most of Howie's investors were businessmen who lived outside of Florida and had no background in agriculture or personal use for all the fruit that would grow on their land beyond speculative value. In other words, Howie's investors were not buying the land to use it example by building homes on the land or to consume the fruits grown on that land, which was prohibited by the service contracts. Rather, the only plausible reason for Howie's investors to buy the land was to try and realize a profit. 3. The investment is in a common enterprise. The Supreme Court found that Howie's investors were investing in a common enterprise because they shared employees and equipment to collectively harvest, store, market, and sell the citrus fruit from their respective land parcels, and because they all benefited pro rata from the profitability of the Howie in the Hills Company. Therefore, the fortunes of Howie's investors rose and fell together, based on the available amount of and market price for Howie's fruit in any given year. 4. The investment is profitable based on the promoter's or some third party's efforts. As noted above, Howie's investors were not farmers or fruit wholesalers, they were businessmen. The only way these investors could profit from their real estate investments was based on the work by Howie and his employees, who tended to, harvested, and sold the citrus fruit. For this reason, the Supreme Court held that the investors were really investing in Howey's company, rather than in the land itself. So what does the Howey test have to do with cryptocurrency? Believe it or not, this 1946 case is still the most important legal test for whether or not the sale of an asset constitutes a security, and therefore subject to the S.E.C's jurisdiction. There isn't any strict test for how many of the 4 Howey factors a token needs to meet before it is considered a security, but as a general rule, the more factors that are met, the more likely the S.E.C is to consider the token a security. The Ripple case provides a good illustration of how the government will apply the 4 Howey factors to determine if a digital asset token is a security. So let's go step by step through the 4 factors using XRP as an example. 1. Investment of money. Clearly anybody who bought XRP tokens from Ripple Labs or from an exchange using fiat currency or other digital assets was investing money in the tokens, so this factor is easily met. 2. Expectation of profits. In the Ripple complaint, the S.E.C devotes lots of space to documenting the many times that Ripple insiders, including Brad Garlinghouse, touted XRP as a potential profit maker for token holders. Between those unfortunate statements and the fact that there isn't really a substantial use for XRP aside from as an investment vehicle, it's pretty safe to say that investors bought XRP in the expectation of profiting from the tokens, and thus the second Howey factor is also met. 3. Common enterprise. The S.E.C claims that XRP token holders were investing in a common enterprise, because just like Howey's Citrus Grove investors, all XRP investors' fortunes rise and fall equally based on the current market for XRP. And that market is heavily influenced by factors within Ripple's and its employees' control, like the XRP escrow that Ripple maintained, the way in which Ripple introduced new XRP tokens into the market to maximize value, Ripple's marketing efforts to drum up institutional interest in XRP, and the technological use cases that Ripple and its associated companies were able to develop for XRP tokens. On the other hand, since most of the actual sales of XRP were peer-to-peer, rather than the result of direct offerings by Ripple, there is a somewhat reasonable argument that XRP investors lack horizontal commonality, one factor courts consider in deciding whether there is a common enterprise, because they are acting as counterparties to one another, and the proceeds of their sales to each other are not pooled in a way that benefits them all equally. 4. Effort of others. Finally, the S.E.C argues that the sale of XRP also meets the final Howey factor because the ability of token holders' investment in XRP to be profitable depends on the efforts of others, especially Ripple Labs with respect to managing the total supply of XRP, developing additional technological use cases for the tokens, and promoting those use cases to institutional investors who might use the tokens for interbank transfers. Like Howey's Citrus Grove investors who relied on Howey's company to turn a profit on their land investment, XRP investors are reliant on Ripple Labs in order to turn a profit on their purchases of XRP tokens. On the other hand, Ripple will likely argue that all of the necessary technology is currently in place to make XRP usable even if Ripple Labs disappeared tomorrow. However, this argument is a bit of a stretch since the market conditions are not yet in place for XRP to be independently useful and therefore valuable, and the XRP ecosystem is far less distributed than comparable tokens like Bitcoin and Ether. Initially, I want to rate all 4 points in the Howey test, but on second thought, it will beneficial for us to focus on the why, as my personal take means nothing to the outcome. That is why I left it to our audiences. Could a federal judge see things differently and rule that the above factors actually aren't met and that XRP is not an investment contract? Sure, anything is possible. But hopefully, you learned something from our research, and better still, apply what you learned here and apply it as a part of your crypto do your own research process. Conversely, you can see why more fully decentralized cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, that are not dependent on any specific company backing them in order to have value, are a much safer bet from a securities law perspective. But in a world with many thousands of cryptocurrencies out there, there are bound to be some difficult cases between the decentralized Bitcoin and the company-reliant XRP. Please use what learned here and examine your interested altcoins or ICO using the 4-part Howey test. Till next, please take care and #to the moon.